Hey, what's up, people? Piz out here, and can we talk about conventions? Now, those of you who followed my channel for any period of time, you know I love talking about conventions. I love talking about conventions almost as much as I love going to conventions. However, these days, I only hit up maybe one or two conventions every year. That's about it's about the most I can handle. I'm just getting too old for the convention scene, but I still love talking about conventions. So, when my buddy Gary sent me a link through Facebook to a Hollywood Reporter article about conventions, instead of writing an essay about the article and about my thoughts on conventions in general, decided I'd shoot a video. Now, I'll put a link to that Hollywood Reporter article in the description. It's a really interesting article. Go check it out. But the gist of it is how conventions have exploded over the course of the past few years and how they've become a very, very lucrative venture, not just to the promoters and organizers, but to the guests, to the stars who come to these shows, and how this proliferation of conventions has really changed the culture, the convention culture. Whereas before, the stigma surrounding a convention was, most people thought of just a group of nerds in a convention hall, drooling over some washed up, has-been guy who was on 3 episodes of Star Trek 40 years ago, and how that's completely changed nowadays. Now, I recently had Sean Clark on an episode of On the Real podcast, which if you're not listening to On the Real podcast, you should. Pizzal.com/On the Real, REEL. And we talked about how, particularly in my neck of the woods, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, Indiana, the Carolinas, how conventions have exploded in this area. How there's a convention literally every weekend, a horror, sci-fi, or fantasy convention literally every weekend, particularly since The Walking Dead happened. And The Walking Dead crossed over into mainstream pop culture icon status, and how the stars of that show have really become kind of convention all-stars. And I remember I was at one of the bigger Kentucky shows a few years ago. And this was, I think right at the peak of Walking Dead's popularity. And they had booked quite a few Walking Dead people, including Norman Reedus. And against my better judgment, I went on a Saturday, which, little convention 101, if you can, go Friday or go Sunday. Saturday is always the busiest day. But now, granted, this was one of the bigger conventions in Kentucky. I'd never seen so many people in my life at a convention. The attendance from the year before had easily quadrupled to the point where the entire event was a complete and utter mismanaged, unorganized disaster. It was a free-for-all. The volunteers who were there working for the convention were literally just deer in the headlights. If you asked them a question, the only answer that they could, drool out of their mouths was, "I don't know." It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And I'm not blaming The Walking Dead on that. The convention organizer actually kind of blamed The Walking Dead on it, because he said, we had no idea this many people would show up. However, that was also his excuse for the previous year and why it was messy, and his excuse for the year that followed this year. And part of the reason why that show became a shadow of itself, and I don't think it's even around anymore. Again, I won't name names. But at that point, I knew this convention scene that was really sort of an insular kind of thing. It was just us horror fans, us sci-fi fans, us fantasy film fans, us outsiders, us geeks and nerds and weirdos. And you never saw, it was almost like you saw the same people at every show, to be honest. But The Walking Dead, having crossed over, really opened the floodgates. And people who would never in their lives be caught dead at a convention were now going to conventions and spending lots and lots and lots of money. And now this article in the Hollywood Reporter talks about the proliferation of conventions really across the country, and how, it's no longer this, this geeky kind of thing. And it's no longer inundated with guests who are, the washed up has-been celebrities. You have, I don't necessarily want to say A-list celebrities, but, you have pretty serious celebrities coming to this show because they know how much money they can make over the course of just one weekend doing these shows because they're that popular. That was another thing that really crossed my mind. Waiting in line to be transported to another line, to wait in that line, to be transported to another line, to wait in that line, to meet some of the Walking Dead people at this show years ago was, my God, these celebrities are making lots of money, and word is going to spread, and before you know it, we're going to have, some serious like A-list actors at these shows. And we're at that point, and this article brings it up about how, and they mentioned Norman Reedus several times in the article, and I've had people ask me, why hasn't Norman Reedus parlayed this huge success from The Walking Dead into more of a film career? And the simple answer, I mean, the Hollywood Reporter article, they estimated a typical weekend for him, depending on the show, he can bring in $500,000 or more dollars. The author of the article talks about being in a room and that it was like a scene out of Scarface, that there was cash money stacked to the ceiling, being fed into those counters, and just oodles and oodles of cash. So why would he want to commit himself in his off time from The Walking Dead, which I'm sure at this point he's getting paid very well, very handsomely per episode for that show? Why would he want to commit himself to a 2-month, 3-month movie where he could make a few $1 million when he can go from convention to convention, weekend after weekend after weekend, and over the course of 2-3 days rake in $500,000 or more dollars? They talked to Jewel State in the article from Firefly and Serenity, and she said, why would I want to go and make a movie where I get paid $10,000 a week when I can do a convention and over the course of a weekend get paid $40,000? And the article says, that's sort of a short-sighted, money-making venture. But when you're making $40,000 a weekend, or $500,000 over a weekend, it's short-sighted, sure. But I mean, you're making some good money for not really having to do very much. Sign stuff, stand up, take pictures. Now, granted, the year I went to that big convention with Norman Reedus, they were pushing and pulling this dude everywhere. If he wasn't at his table, he was at, a panel discussion for The Walking Dead or Boondock Saints, or he was at a photo op for Walking Dead or Boondock Saints, he was pushed, pulled, running everywhere. So, he's working kind of hard for that money, but again, we're talking big bucks. It's gotten to the point also where producers, if I'm an actor and I turn down a role with you as a producer or a director or as a studio, because I'd rather go do a convention, I'm going to make more money, they're actively blacklisting people who are choosing to do conventions over film work. However, at the same time, these major Hollywood talent agencies have developed their own wings to just handle convention appearances. So word has spread everywhere, permeated throughout Hollywood about how much money you can make at one of these shows, and to the celebrities as well. That's why you're seeing bigger and bigger names at these shows, because they can make huge money over the course of a weekend, and you can't really blame them. Yeah, I see it even, I was at a Scarefest show just last weekend, and every year I go to Scarefest, it seems like there's just more and more people there. Even I went on a Friday. I remember going to a Scarefest show. The very first Scarefest show I went to was on a Saturday, And I was in and out of there, and that's the busy day. I was in and out of there in an hour. You know what I mean? And now, I mean, even on a slow Friday, there's triple, quadruple the amount of people that are attending these shows. So the convention scene, I've heard a lot of people saying, you know, the bubble's going to burst. The bubble's going to burst. And one day it probably will. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. There's just way too much money there for the promoters and the organizers, for the convention itself, and for the stars. You know what I mean? If you ever go to a convention, it's really odd, because it's almost as if money loses its value when you're at a convention. You just have this paper in your hand and you can't wait to just get rid of it, to just give it to people. And, you know, I remember one convention, I'd gone to the convention, I'd spent an insane amount of money. And you know, and I always try and budget, and I always try and say, I'm not going to go over this amount, but I almost always do. But as I was leaving the parking garage where I'd parked, I didn't even have $5 or $10 left to pay for parking, because I'd gone into this totally other world where there's celebrities and there's cool, you know, stuff at the vendors' tables, and there's, you know what I mean, there's food and there's drinks and there's this and there's that. And, you know, I mean, the money just went away. The money lost all of its value while I was there. And, you know, that's a really weird, it's really odd. And if you ever go to a convention, just look around. Every person who's there, I mean, they've spent, you know, depending on the day, $30 to $50 or $60 just to get in the door for one day. Weekend passes, a couple of $100. VIP passes, a few $100, and they've not even walked through the door yet. So you can potentially spend, yeah, I know I'm rambling a little bit here, but case in point, I had some people that I knew. They were huge Walking Dead fans, and they knew that I went to conventions. And they were really picking my brain about this one convention where not all the Walking Dead, but a lot of Walking Dead people were going to be there, namely Norman Reedus. And, you know, I gave them the Convention 101 speech, you know what I mean? They bought their tickets. They did VIP passes, the weekend, the hotel room, the photo op tickets, the autograph tickets. They hadn't even left their house, and they'd spent thousands before they'd even left their house. So these shows are not going anywhere anytime soon, particularly when more and more non-convention people are coming to the shows and are dropping bukus of money. And I don't think it's you know, a lot of people have blamed The Walking Dead for, you know, destroying this secret of ours. You know what I mean? I don't look at it really that way. I had one convention organizer tell me that the worst thing that ever happened to conventions was The Walking Dead. But, I mean, I guess it depends. I mean, I guess it depends on if you're the one accepting the money from the fans, or if you're a fan who's shelling out the money. I don't know. Depends on what side of the table you're on, I guess you could say. But I don't lay blame at anybody's feet. I just think it's really interesting how these shows, you know, they've crossed over into pop culture. You know what I mean? People are going to conventions now who 5 years ago would never be caught dead, or 5 years ago would never even know what a convention was, or how to even find a convention. You know, now they're hardcore convention goers and dropping small fortunes. So I don't know. It's a really interesting article. Go check it out. Go read it. Let me know what you think of the article. Let me know what you think of just conventions, period, in the comment section below. What are some of your favorite convention going moments? What are some of your least favorite convention going moments? Do you blame The Walking Dead for this convention explosion? Let me know in the comments section below. If you've never been to a convention, you know, let me know that as well. If you want the Convention 101 spiel, let me know. I'll list it. There's some bullet points in that spiel that, you know, take it to heart if you're a convention goer, or if you want to go to a convention. Anyway, if you liked the video, please leave it a thumbs up. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. They're also right around here somewhere. Thanks as always for watching. I really appreciate it. Take care, and until next time, peace. Say hello to the internet, Jeremy.
Hello to the internet.